Hello, Abigail here with the astrology for the week ahead and a slightly different setup. We're going to see if this works out for me. But the astrology of this week is another kind of pivotal moment. I know basically the entire winter, spring has felt pivotal, but we do have some really important developments when it comes to the personal planets that have been retrograding, specifically Mercury and then also Mars. So that is good news. And I'm excited for it. And I'm hoping that it kind of releases some of the tension, specifically around the Mars retrograde. We are not quite to the post shadow period, but we're heading into a new sign. But let's do this in order. So, bright side, the first few days of the week, so you don't have any major aspects. So, it does feel like we're getting a nice kind of wind down from the intensity of this full moon that Mars square is kicking off big time. So it's nice that we kind of get a bit of a wind down, take it easy the first few days of this week. Don't pressure yourselves because we're going to be heading into some pretty progressive astrology. And I think that's important to create space for earlier on. So moving into Wednesday, we start off with Mercury re-entering Aries. So we're not quite to the post retrograde, but we are out of detriment. And Mercury is heading towards its degree of station, which was 9 degrees. So this is really good and exciting, and it feels as though we're kind of through the submersion of a detriment Mercury in Pisces, which, while helpful, while it brings, I think, a lot of things to the surface, it does tend to slow down communication and make it a little difficult to kind of directly connect our like production of language and expression with how we're actually feeling. So at least we might feel a little raw once we go back into Aries because it is the early degrees of Aries are getting raked over multiple times. But it does feel as though there's more of a connection to desire, a connection to communication around desire. So some clarity is coming, and also, of course, that kind of re-understanding of the themes that we have around that, which is great. Um, Maybe it's not more easy, but it is more direct, which I will take. Then we also have Mercury conjunct Neptune because Neptune is at 0 degrees. So any planets that go into Aries from this time forward are going to be hitting that Neptune conjunction. So this is the first of our personal planets hitting that. I do think this is a really beautiful time to connect with kind of things that we don't really have words for. If you've been going through a shift in belief or with that nice little value shift in the Venus retrograde, and now Venus is officially station direct, thank goodness. We'll be much happier once it's on the other side of a shadow period, but that is a problem for another week. So this is a moment to really connect with the language of the lessons we've learned. It's really a beautiful time to connect with things that we have previously not been able to give voice to. Also, with this first personal planet conjunction, we do have this moment of getting just the slightest hint of what the Neptune cycle is going to be in Aries. So it is time to pay attention to kind of look at what's coming up and not necessarily do anything about it, but to kind of track what gets kicked off at this time. Obviously, eventually, we're going to have Neptune retrograding back into Pisces for a little bit, and then 2026 it officially is in Aries for long term, just like Pluto did earlier this year. So we are going to have to come back and revisit some things, but this is a great time to kind of kick off new things, new ideas as we head out of the retrogrades. This conjunction is a nice way to check in. So when Venus eventually hits that 0 degree or 1 degree, I can't remember what degree they go into a conjunction at, but when it hits that, that's also some information. Same with the sun, all of these, well, not the sun, but same with everyone else. So yeah, it's really exciting. It's new and daunting. And while I do think Neptune in Aries is going to bring a beautiful clarity and freedom to religion and spirituality and people's ability to accept each other, there's always an old guard who fights, and that is that Saturn conjunction that's going to come up and only be official till 2026 as well. So just be aware that cycles often have opposing ends of a spectrum, where maybe for some people, Neptune in Aries is this beautiful freedom and wildness when it comes to religion and spirituality and the beliefs we hold. And to other people, it's going to be this desperate last fight to hold on to regressive ideals. So when you see that happen, don't be surprised. Um, but I do think it is exciting, especially for those of us who are desirous of liberation and freedom, to have a Neptune in Aries. It gives you the teeth to fight with. It is a Mars ruled sign. It's the beginning of a whole new shift and cycle in the Neptune cycle. So embrace this for what it is, but know that people are going to have different reactions to something that could be really good. Um, so yeah, that is your Wednesday. And then on Friday, we have Mars entering Leo, and finally, Mars is out of Cancer. Now, I do love a Cancer Mars. I do love detriment planets, but it has been difficult to have the kind of progressive fighter of the planets to be in Cancer and to have to be more tender and to have to be more understanding. It does take a lot of energy. Um, Mars and Cancer people that I know spend a lot of energy on trying to create safety, which is great and wonderful, but it can burn them out really fast because it is difficult for Mars to do. So it'll be nice to get Mars in a fire sign. Check what planets Mars will be aspecting once it hits Leo for yourself. But we are getting closer and closer to the end of this shadow period. Thank God. It will be nice for Mars to kind of reach new horizons and deal with new issues versus ever since, the post shadow was back in like October, November, and then we had the station direct on the 6th of December, and now here we are. So there's a lot of progress this week. Now, once again, we're still in the post shadow period, so it's progress that is probably also retracing our steps. So for some of us, it might feel like we're having to redo old things or reface old things. For some of us, it'll be a relief. Um, just don't have a strong expectation for you to respond to this astrology a certain way. This astrology hits everybody differently. But do hold space for the fact that we are moving ahead. Happy about. Sometimes I love the kind of kickback that retrogrades give, but there is a point at which I'm just like, it's been too much, too much. All right. And then we have on Saturday, we have the sun entering Taurus. It is Taurus season. Happy birthday, fellow Taurus humans. I will be doing the tarot scopes for that. If you haven't seen the tarot scopes, I do kind of a tarot reading that's laced with astrology for each of the signs. You can apply it to your sun, moon, or rising. Also, if you have a stellium in a sign, so if it's not your sun, moon, or rising, but you have like all of your personal planets in a sign, maybe you should check those out as well. I find that they're supportive. Also, when I do them, I find that they are talking to me as well. But I think there's something fun. I enjoy them when other people do similar things as a supportive practice. So it's something that I offer if you enjoy listening to me talk and the way that I explain things. So that's happening that day. And also on that day, it's really interesting. We have Mars trine Neptune at 0 degrees. Mars 0 degrees Leo, Neptune 0 degrees Aries. This is the time to really sink into your beliefs. It's the time to really hold true to those intangibles that we don't really get to see all the time, but we know and believe in. If you are a practitioner like me who works with a lot of stuff that no one can see, this is a really big day. If you haven't worked on something you can't see or you're still struggling with belief, firstly, you don't have to believe anything you don't want to. You don't have to believe anything I believe. But if there's something that you will benefit from believing, this is a beautiful day to embrace that. It's a beautiful day to kind of dig in and enjoy and tuck in, if you will. Also, it's nice because we've got a 0 degree sun, 0 degree Mars, 0 degree Neptune. There's a lot of potential on Saturday for some really beautiful things. And last time Mars was in Leo, we did not have a trine with Neptune. So it's a very different vibe. And I do think some of the topics, especially the earlier topics, from the Mars retrograde, so specifically in December, I think Neptune's going to shine. Well, not shine. Neptune doesn't really shine. Neptune is going to bring a really interesting perspective to what was going on at that time that we were not aware of. Because it was in Pisces, and now it's in Aries. So really, enjoy, pay attention. Also, as I always remind people, especially when we're in, a change of the season, such as, the fall or the spring, just enjoy the weather. Get outside, enjoy yourself, celebrate Taurus season. If you're not Taurus heavy, do Taurian things. Eat good snacks, hang out with friends, have lots of cozy times, and drink a lot of tea and, well, if you don't like tea, any kind of drink that appeals to you. But do things, I do think it is helpful to embody the season that we're in, regardless of your sign. So do the cozy things, do the things that are rich and soft around the edges. Also, to hell with summer body. We want a comfy body. We want a body that is nice to hug and has a little juice. And if you're a thin person, that's totally fine. I'm talking to those of us who are deeply traumatized by society because we are just naturally um, soft around the edges. You can look at my little rounded face, little rounded wrist. And I'm not saying that I'm fat, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying not all of us fit the beauty standard, and that's fine. Um, and in Taurus season, I would rather you be fed regardless of your size and enjoy things and have belly laughs than to be worried about stupid societal norms, whatever they may be. And then I think this is something that's really important because it really does affect that entrance into Taurus. We do have the sun going into that square with Mars. So while it doesn't happen on the day that the sun enters, it does still happen that day, in the sense that like that square is culminating throughout that ingress into Taurus. So it does feel like there is a bit of a fight this Taurus season between what needs to be done, what needs to be tended to, and the progression of the future. And I would suggest in Taurus season to focus on what needs to be done now because that is a Taurus process. Um, and believe that the things that you focus on now and the things that you find value in now are setting you up for the things that are progressive in the future. And I am talking to myself with a North Node in Sagittarius who always wants to plan for the future. Um, and a moon in Virgo. We like to make sure things are organized. And not in the typical way that people think. I am not a tabs girly. I am not a journal girly. I am chaotic to the core, but organized in the sense that I know a progression of something. And when I use the term girly, it's gender neutral. I'm a they them. That is the rundown for the week. I like to keep it as simple as possible. I know I can wax pretty lyrical about some things. Um, but yeah, see the progressive moments for what they are. Know that all of these progressive moments are happening in a post shadow period. So, yes, progressive within the sense of that we are finally facing and dealing with stuff that we weren't able to because of the retrogrades. Um, enjoy the fire energy, enjoy the final days of Aries season. I know this Aries season has been a doozy, speaking from experience. So if you are as exhausted as I am, really, really take Taurus season as the time to really reinvest in yourself. And pretty much all, I've said this multiple weeks in a row, pretty much all of my readings are directing people towards Cancer season as far as a season where stuff actually starts to click. Stuff actually starts to happen and to dig in and to really speak for itself, versus all of the kind of fixing and navigating and chaos that we've had to deal with in Aries season. So give yourself the space in Taurus season to recoup. Give yourself the space in Gemini season to re-energize. And then when we hit Cancer season, you will have a nice open space for all of the stuff you've been desiring and trying to call in and trying to create stability around. Also, once we're into Cancer season, we have Jupiter in Cancer. We have a beautiful Cancer new moon on the 25th of June. There's a lot of really kind of genuinely beautiful astrology happening, which I think is kind of like if you're struggling right now is a good point to kind of look forward as a goal to like hang in there. Which is something I did today. I was like 25th of June is when I have to face my problems. So yeah, that's my advice for this week. Don't feel pressured to perform. If anything, be very fire sign. Enjoy the moment. Be connected to the now. Um, it is hard to be connected with the way the world is, and part of that is digesting and engaging in current events and being active in your resistance. It's also about feeding yourself and being with your friends and making plans to have fun and really just enjoying being in the Taurus energy, enjoying being in a fixed earth sign where things really want to be comfortable and lush and rich and beautiful. And that they should be, and you are. All right, my loves, I will see you in a different space and time. Keep those eyes peeled for the tarot scopes. I will be doing them very soon. And as always, please like and subscribe and leave any comments or questions you have down below.